Okay, who do we have here with us today?
My name is Carl Officer Funeral Home in East St. Louis, Illinois, and I'm here with Stash House Productions and Entertainment.
Can you give us a brief history on your upbringing and things you were taught growing up?
Sure. I was born in St. Louis, Missouri on April the 3rd, 1952, at a well-known black hospital called St. Mary's Infirmary that's no longer there because they would not let black women have babies in East St. Louis. My mother nor any other black woman could go in, even though they had several hospitals here in East St. Louis. They wouldn't admit them to deliver children. So, fortunately, I was brought into the world by a good pediatrician and gynecologist, and who later became my brother's godfather. And I grew up here in East St. Louis. A great childhood, going to church, going to school, playing in the parks, riding my bike, playing everything from Corey League baseball to learning how to swim in the parks, pools, and eating snow cones and doing all kinds of things that little kids do in the 1950s and the early 60s. I really enjoyed my childhood.
Can you describe your upbringing and what kind of household you came from?
My upbringing was very traditional in the sense that my grandparents, my parents were very steeped in the Christian faith. And my household was a praying household, still is. I was raised between a Baptist church and a Methodist church, African Methodist church to be exact. And my parents and grandparents were both licensed embalmers and funeral directors. Um, I'm very blessed to have been born into a family that had their own independent business. And both my grandparents were independent minded, and my parents were independent minded. And they made sure that we had God first in our lives, and secondly, that we had good educations, and thirdly, that we did not forget the community that we live in, and that made it possible for us to have a good living, a good business, a good opportunity to be able to share. And that's what I've been trying to teach my daughter, and what we've been doing ever since. And fortunately, now I think right now this is our 108th year in business in the same location, so I'm very blessed.
Can you give us a brief history on your educational background?
I went to a school named after the first person who died for the Revolutionary War in the United States, a black man named Crispus Attucks. My first school was Crispus Attucks Elementary School, located 3 blocks from here in my funeral home. I went from there to George Rogers Clark Junior High School. That's what it was called at the time, not middle school, but junior high school. Then I went from there to Lincoln Senior High School for a semester. Then I wound up transferring to Marmion Military Academy in Aurora, Illinois, because I wanted to go and do a career in the military. And I graduated from high school at Marmion Military Academy in May of 1970. And then from there, I went to Southern Illinois University in Carbondale, Illinois, where I started my career in mortuary science to get a degree in mortuary science. And then from there to Western College in Ohio, and from Western College back to SIU to complete my associate's degree there. Got my bachelor's in Miami of Ohio, and was fortunate to go to the John F. Kennedy School of Government at Harvard University. And in the meantime, I've had the privilege of studying at Washington University State Community College here in East St. Louis. And I was able to study at the Iowa Wesleyan School of Extension of Theological School, and took classes in Jerusalem, Palestine, throughout Judea and Israel, and have studied in Egypt. And I've been very blessed to have had the opportunity to study the Word of God in a variety of different settings and different continents.
Who instilled the business aspect in your grandfather and your father? Like where did that begin?
I'm not so sure where my grandfather got that idea about business. I think that he might have gotten it possibly from his growing up. He was born in Michigan but grew up in Ohio, and then came to Missouri in the late 1800s. Um, I never really knew my grandfather. I never met him. He died before I was born. But my father and my grandmother, uh, she was originally from Louisiana, and my father was very close to his mother, and his mother and my mother were uh, products of black women of the South. My mother was born in Mississippi and raised in Mississippi, and um, she and my grandmother had a strong work ethic about their church, their family, and their business. And the principles that I administer every day in my business here, and every day and every night in my personal life, are direct descendants of what I learned from my grandmother, my mother, and my father.
How did you transcend from business to politics? What was the fascination there?
I really wound up getting in politics by accident, and I enjoy politics. I think that it was a matter of public service. Now, the grandfather that I did not know was in politics. Um, he was very active in party politics in the 30s, the 20s, the 30s, and the 40s, my understanding. Um, to my knowledge, he was never elected to anything, but he was very active in supporting candidates and recruiting and registering and things of that nature, getting out the vote. Um, my primary concern for politics was most and foremost was economics. I figured that if I were going to have a successful funeral business and to continue to be able to be uh, successful as my father and mother were, that people that lived in my community need to have jobs. And it seemed to me that we need to do everything we could to try to get more jobs for people of color and more jobs for people in my community. And I found it necessary to try to fight to get good quality jobs and good quality opportunities for the people in East St. Louis. And that's one of the reasons that I ran for office here, and one of the reasons that I continue to push, even to this day, for opportunities for the people of my metropolitan area.
How was it getting into politics? Was it as easy as you thought it would be, or
No,
was it a task?
it never has been easy. Now, it always will be a task. I think that if it's worthwhile, it has to be a struggle. And I think that politics does not have to be something that's a dirty word. It does not have to be something that's confrontational, but it has to be something that's committed. You have to be committed toward fairness. I think you have to be committed toward character. You have to be committed toward doing what I believe is an honorable profession. I think that persons who get into politics for just what they can get for themselves are doomed not to have any success. And success is not whether or not you got elected. Success is not whether or not you got a lot of money. Success is what you're able to do for your neighbor. That's real success because I believe that, you know, I'm in the funeral business. I deal with death every day. I know nothing else. You can't take any money you got with you, so you ought to try your best to enjoy every day you got here and try to help somebody while you're here. Hurting and being nasty and being divisive and being disrespectful is not the way my God taught me and teaches me and shares me his love every day.
Can you run down highlights of your political career?
Oh, I guess the big highlight of my career was being able to help people in this community when they need it most. Things like building the first major nursing home facilities here, being able to have quality health care provisions for them, being able to have quality public health, public safety provisions, uh, things like sewer renovations and good safe streets, quality schools, um, job opportunities, and I can go on and on. I'm sure some things I probably have forgotten that I did, but I know that I believe that every day that I served the taxpayers of the city of East St. Louis was a blessing to me because they gave me an opportunity to work for them, and I will always be grateful.
Now, speaking on the history of East St. Louis, I know you weren't the first black mayor of East St. Louis, but
Hmm.
I want to say you were the youngest mayor.
Oh,
What
yeah.
kind of backlash did you receive by being the youngest black mayor of East St. Louis? And
Oh,
what year are we talking?
1979, I was the youngest mayor in America, not just black, in the whole country. Black or white, or Asian or Hispanic, you name it. I got a lot of backlash from certain population sources, but I got a lot of support too. I got a lot of support from senior citizens. I couldn't have accomplished anything without certain
Excuse
persons
me,
who were
good
there.
morning.
I couldn't have gotten any help from some of these persons that didn't pray for me, that did not reach out to give me good advice. Um, Sometimes they had to chastise me. Sometimes they had to put me in the corner and say, "Now you need to think about this." And I appreciate them doing that.
Coming from a successful family business background, now becoming the youngest mayor of the city, how did you let, or how did you not let that go to your head? How did you remain level headed?
You had to know my mother and father; they were not going to let that happen. Um, that was not something that was even an issue. That was not something that they were going to contemplate. They let it be known very clearly that I may be the mayor, but I'm still obligated to show respect, to show courtesy, and to show my love to people. And they were not going to tolerate anything other than that.
Coming from your background and trying to connect with the people of East St. Louis, how did you bridge that gap? Because they're saying you came from a privileged background, and how can you tell us we haven't been in the positions that you've been in? How did you bridge the gap between yourself and the people to make a successful connection being mayor?
Well, let me share what you know. What the big privilege was? The big privilege was serving God. You know, people think that because you have a nice car, because you live in a nice house, that's privilege. No, that's a blessing. Privilege is serving God. I don't care how you scrape it. Um, I've got a bunch of degrees. I've had been very successful financially, but at the end of the day, as I just pointed out, you can't take any of that stuff with you. Okay, if you don't recognize that there is a God and that you have an obligation to serve Him first, you know, you have abused the privilege, and we are in a world that we get confused sometimes by letting commercial things tell us what's good. Everything that I need to know, my God will provide for me. I just have to listen. I have to obey. And I have to be willing to serve. And I'm a living proof that if you serve Him, He will take care of you, He will bless you.
How do you remain so steadfast, deeply rooted in the city? And what have you seen the changes from the time you were growing up to now? What do you think about that?
Well, let me take the person. I remain steadfast because I pray every day. I started in the morning praying and I pray all day during the day. Um, Changes, I can't even begin to tell you about all the changes that I've seen. The major change I've seen is people are rude, crude, and nasty to each other. I've seen a lot more disrespect by people to folks they don't even know. I've seen a lot of changes where children don't respect their parents. I've seen where children don't respect their teachers. I've seen where children don't respect anything or anybody, their peers. And I see just a lot of challenges every day that these people in my younger days, in my childhood, would have never tolerated.
If you can go back and talk to your younger self, knowing what you know today, what would you tell them?
Ooh! First of all, I don't think I got enough time to talk to me. Um, I would first of all start out by saying how grateful and how thankful I ought to be. And then I think that I would simply say, let's try it all over again. And I'm going to tell you something. I enjoyed the journey.
For your legacy, what would you like to be remembered by?
It's too late for me to think about that. I've got so much living I got to do now. I have no idea what my legacy is going to be. I guess servant. That's probably the best thing. Servant.
We appreciate you sitting down with us and taking time out with us. And if there's anything you want to say in closing, now's the time you can say it.
Well, the thing that I would simply say for your company, those persons who are viewing this, take some time to show some love. Take some time to share your love. Take some time to be a servant. Thank you.
We appreciate you. Thank you.
Thank you.